Husk is an incredible epic champion of the Force Affinity, capable of a lot of control as well as massive AoE damage, which is really going to be helping you out in many AoE big scenarios like the Hydra or even the Spider in particular, where you are going to be facing versus the right affinity, for example, for like Spider level 19, which is one of the hardest levels there is out there. A lot of people are struggling on him, and today we're going to be looking at how to actually build him and what he actually really does, right? We'll go through a deep dive with how to get the maximum out of his kit, right? My name is Midway, and let's go get into it. So here's my Husk. He's very much still a work in progress. As you can see, the gear that I got on him is straight up just not the best. Of course, we still got some rare gear and such, but we are just getting there, getting him leveled up, and we're gonna be looking at how to actually make him work right. So first of all, let's go through a little bit of a skill overview so we can understand why he's actually a very good champion for the rarity that he is. Of course, he's an epic champion of the Force Affinity, right? So let's just go into his A1. It's gonna be a double hit with a 20% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn, right? So he has straight up just a provoke on his A1. Pretty low chance, but that can go up to, what is it, 40%, right? So it can be a little bit, it's at like 40% every single hit, right? So it's not a bad chance by any means, right? You can pretty much get somebody, not obviously 100% chance of him getting like fully provoked onto you, but he can control quite a little bit, right? And it's going to be scaling based off of attack on this one skill in particular, although he's supposed to be an HP champion, right? We'll get into that in a moment. Then his second attack, his A2, is going to be his bread and butter. It's an attack all enemies with a 35% chance baseline of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, right? So it's a pretty big AoE hit because it's going to be scaling based off of enemies max HP, and then you can get the stun chance to be, what is it, like 40, 50, 60% chance and a 4 turn cooldown. So it's a pretty big chance of getting that stun off, although the cooldown is going to be pretty high, but you're going to be doing enemies max HP, right? So as you can see, you can get these into very high-end level content, like the Hydra in particular, where the AoE damage is going to be very damn important. Like the Spider then, when you're going to be needing to control those spiders a little bit, and that's going to be perfectly fine with this. If you can scale this debuff up even more again, that is going to be insane. But all in all, his stun all by its own is already going to be basically allowing him to be a big control champion, which is going to be doing some big hits. Freeze! Click the link in the description right now and get a free legendary Karato as well as 2 free epics as you level up. So here's what you need to do. First of all, log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Then click the link in the description of this video and register a brand new email. Launch raid and complete the tutorial, and then go to your inbox and claim your first champ. You'll find Karato here as well as Tagoar and Uugo as you progress through the game. This is an amazing account starting rate, so click the link right now and follow the steps. And if you are a legendary mushroom player, I also got a special link down there in the description. Don't miss out on this offer, go ahead and check it out now. Now, why is he supposed to be an HP champion? Because he is going to be scaling his damage with his A3 based off of the current champion HP, right? So you can see right here, attack 1 enemy, and the damage is simply going to be scaling based off of his max HP. It's not a very strong ability, as you can see. It's just by leveling it up, you're going to be reducing the cooldown and getting some attack increases over there, but it doesn't really add any value to his kit, right? His bread and butter here, his really reason to be and why you would want to be picking him is to control certain enemies with his A1 and then apply some stuns and get some enemy max HP damage basically from his A2, right? So in most scenarios with playing Husk, you are going to be turning off his A3 straight up. Most of the time you don't actually want to be using this, even though you want to be building quite some HP percentage on him, and we'll get to that in a moment, right? It's going to be a beefy champion, which of course wants to survive because it's going to be taking some hits from the provoke. You don't really want to be getting these attacks going off too often because you'd rather get the provokes off so you can keep getting that consistency of him being a tank and taking some of the aggro off, so rather than just getting a little bit of damage, right? You don't want to have those provokes fall off. And then finally, he's going to have an ally HP increase only in arena battles, right? So all in all, not really going to be too useful. We're not really going to be using him too much in arena anyways. We could, but mostly we're going to be focusing on the dungeon content where he's really going to be excelling. So when it comes to the gear, most endgame players are going to be running him on Relentless or Reflex gear, and or rather the artifact sets, and the reason for that is because with those 2 tier sets or artifact sets, you're going to be able to get more just cooldowns, or rather cooldown reduction, out of him just naturally and passively playing, right? With Reflex Gear, you will have a chance of reducing the cooldown on one of his skills, and then with Relentless, you have a chance of getting an extra turn, meaning that you are just able to go back to his A2, right? We talked about the A3 is mostly going to be turned off, so it's really just going to be it's all going to be about getting more A2s out, so you can keep getting that enemy max HP hits that are going to be your main damage dealing ability, as well as the stuns for a lot of control, right? Now, if you don't have access to those two kinds of gear, which I sort of do, and I should be looking at maybe setting up a Relentless piece of, or rather gear or piece of set here, maybe set it up. That could be a thing that I look into doing right now, but I'm also running him on a Bloodthirsty as well as an Immortal set, right? Which is going to be making him a little bit more of a beefy option with that lifesteal, of course, just giving me that HP back with those big AoE hits, as well as the Immortal, just a little bit of healing, because I do want him to be a little bit of a beefy character, although at the moment he's not really doing his job because, well, his skills are not leveled up, meaning that his cooldowns are insanely long, of course, on that stun, but he is going to be taking that aggro, which is not really applying too much right now because it's not leveled up, right? I needed to be going up to the 40% chance, so I actually got him to be a little bit of a tank, but once that's happening, these two artifact sets are going to be allowing him to be a bit more of a tank for me, which is one of the other better options to put on him. Then another very good option is straight up just to be scaling up his crit damage a whole lot, right? He is going to be wanting to build a lot of crit rate. You want to be having him at 100% crit rate, which I do not have right now, and then scaling up that crit damage just so you can get more out of that big A2, right? As we mentioned, you want to be getting these hits to be as big as possible, and that's going to really be happening if you are first of all critting. You want to actually be using him sort of an attack as an attack champion, and then of course if that crit damage is scaled up, just like with everything else in the game, that's kind of like how attack champions are supposed to work. Then we also need a little bit of accuracy, of course. We need to have him at least be able to land his A1, all that provoke, and then all that stun, right? So accuracy, it's going to be required at least to the level where you are going to be able to land these debuffs on the enemies. Then we also want to be scaling up his attack. Of course, you want to be doing a lot of damage, so attack percentage will be very strong on him. And then finally, it's just going to be a matter of getting enough HP on him so he is able to survive. Again, we can offset that a little bit with that Immortal and Lifesteal set we do have on him right now. Although we do care a little bit for HP on his A3, we're not really going to be using his A3, so this HP scaling is going to be a little bit irrelevant, but you do want him to be beefy, right? You want him to have at least enough HP so he's able to fulfill his job as a tank. We're not going to be scaling up his defense, right, because he doesn't scale off of anything else, right? So HP is going to be your survivability method, and that's why you want to be getting enough HP on him so he's able to actually take those blunt hits. And then it's just going to be a matter of getting that speed, right? So first of all, getting him to 100% crit rate, then getting that crit damage, and then it's going to be a matter of getting the accuracy that you need, the HP so he doesn't die, and the speed as much as you can, of course, just to get him to be able to do as many attacks as possible. And just like choosing throughout the artifact sets as we talked about, if you are able to get him on some other gear, which is going to be allowing him to get some cooldown reduction, like we talked about on the Relentless set or the Reflex set, that is going to be also amazing, so you just get more A2s coming right back up. This is the mastery setup you want to be running on him for basically everything. Of course, you're going to be running War Master for that enemy max HP extra damage, basically, just like getting a little bit more of that over there. And then we're going to be running always on the defense side of the tree. Again, he's going to be doing a little bit of tanking, so you want him to have a little bit more defensive barriers so he's able to take those hits, right? He's going to be tanking like at least one head on the Hydra if you're going to be doing that, and then in any other boss which is not just going to be doing AoE attacks, you want to be having him at least be a little bit sturdy, right? So all in all, you just want to be picking up a little bit of damage where you can hear, and it's all going to be just about getting to that War Master. So we scale up his A2 damage, and he's actually able to nuke all those hats and just do a lot of AoE damage. Really, that's all it takes for him to actually be useful. In regards to blessings, it's going to be cruelty all the way, just because you're going to have a double hit on that A1, which is going to be able, right, you're going to have that tool to stack up that decreased defense that you get out of cruelty, right? So no matter what red star level you got Husk on, you are always going to be wanting to use cruelty just so you can stack up that decreased defense on to basically anything. It's also going to be scaling up through your A2 because it's AoE attack, but that's not really going to be happening that often, but still that's also going to be applied over there, right? So yes, this is basically his best blessing. There is really nothing else you want out of this, and of course all the stats, and always that's always going to be the same, but you just want to be scaling that decreased targets defense with this double hit on his A1. So yeah, if you want a little bit more in specific of what you want to be building him in specific parts of the gear, right, you want to be going for, of course, you're going to have attack on your weapon, HP on your helmet, defense on your shield, that's always going to be the same, but you would rather get, like, for example, speed on the boots, that's always a given, otherwise HP percentage is going to be nice. On the hands, you're going to be wanting to go either for crit rate, crit damage, or HP percentage. Once again, you want to be scaling that up. For the ring, it's always going to be HP, and then for the amulet, it's going to be either crit damage or HP, and finally for the banner, you're going to be getting that accuracy or HP, right? Everything else, just try to scale that crit rate all the way to 100% wherever else you can, and that crit damage wherever else you can as well. So that is Husk in a nutshell. He's a beast of a guy. He's going to be helping you out in many particular scenarios, like for example, here are his ratings for basically every boss there is in the game. As you can see, he's not terrible in arena, but not the greatest. He's mainly useful for the Hydra, again, we already mentioned that. Shogun Grove, Magma Dragon is going to be extremely powerful, as well as the Frost Spider, and then in general terms, Spider is going to be where you really want to be using him, even in hard mode, just for that control on the spiders, getting rid of them and just stunning them forever, and then basically every other boss, he's going to be great, right? So get him done, get him ready, he's going to be a great addition to your team, so let's get started with him. That's pretty much all there is about Husk, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Now before you go ahead and check out Aptoide if you haven't done so yet. Aptoide is going to be allowing you to get more value for your money. So picture this, you're going to be doing a purchase like regular in Raid Shadow Legends. So when you download Raid Shadow Legends through Aptoide and you try to do those purchases, what's going to happen is that you are going to be getting a bonus for your money that can go from extra 10% of what you're spending all the way up to extra 35% of that much money, right? So picture this, if I currently have a bit of a bonus unlocked, right, that can scale up over time with doing extra things, you can get this much value, for example, for this purchase. Now the real deal here is that when you do have enough of the bonus, you can go ahead and use that instead of your actual money to do the purchase for you, right? So you are going to be getting stuff for free without actually using your real money, right? There's no drawbacks to this. You just go ahead and use Aptoide to buy things for you instead of actually your real money, and over time you will be able to afford more things for the same amount of money you already spent, right? So if you want to head and get that started, there's going to be a guide down in the description talking to you about how to set up the whole thing on your Android devices. It only works on Android, so it's going to be on your phones or emulators on your PC, like BlueStacks, for example. There's also going to be a code which is going to be in the screen as well as down in the description, which is going to be allowing you to scale that bonus by a flat 5% from the get-go, so you can get started scaling and trying to get to that 35% extra bonus mark, right? So hopefully you enjoyed the video, guys. Let me know what you think about it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. See ya.